Model Y pulled up. This is nuts to watch. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, what? Oh, something happened. Something happened. Whose is this? What just happened? Oh, did they end right there? What the heck? Randomly like that? What? Oh, it just ended like that. Honestly, let's see. Hold on.
Birthplace of
from those projected. More
than Elon, right? To show us
Okay.
that future. So it looks like Elon's on his way. So let's welcome him out here.
It's crazy how silent the thing is. It pulls up silent like that.
Welcome to the Wii Robot Party. What we think is normal. It's a comfortable little lounge. And when you get out, you
Let's see.
There's a potential feel like
The RoboVan.
the RoboVan. The RoboVan is
RoboVan.
This is we're going to make this, and it's going to look like that. Now, can you imagine going down the streets and you see this? The AI
Yo, honestly.
It all actually applies to a humanoid.
All right,
robot.
let's take a look.
It's the same.
Because I want to know what
it's just a robot with arms
the
and
share
legs
price
instead of a
did.
robot
Because I know it's
with
going to change
wheels.
from this.
And we've made a lot of progress with Optimus. And as you can see, we started up with someone in a robot suit, sort of down, and then we've progressed dramatically year after year.
Let's see what happens tomorrow morning.
This, get the groceries, just be. It will.
It just ended so abruptly. It ended so abruptly.
It will naturally be, like I said, sort of like really big. Is that we live in.
The thing that's really insane about this is that, like,
So that would be quite fantastic. Oh, and also, what happens if you need a vehicle that? So this is.
So this thing is supposed to seat 20.
The RoboVan is what's gonna solve for high density. So, so if you extrapolate this, it did a lot of progress. This might be they'll be producing products and services. I predict, actually, provided we address risks of digital superintelligence, 80% was.
So for these vehicles, which is nuts, is like since they drive themselves, the cost to move things is gonna go down so much. If a person doesn't have to drive every single second. Man, this is gonna be really crazy. Dang, it did end. Why didn't they say nothing?
So everything we've developed for our cars, the batteries, power electronics, the advanced motors, gearboxes, the software, the AI inference computer, it all actually applies to a humanoid robot. It's the same techniques. It's just a robot with arms and legs instead of a robot with wheels. And we've made a lot of progress with Optimus. And as you can see, we started with someone in a robot suit, and then we've progressed dramatically year after year. So if you extrapolate this, you're really going to have something spectacular, something that anyone could own. So you could have your own personal R2-D2 C3PO. And I think at scale, this would cost something like, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000. Probably less than a car, is my prediction long term. Now, it'll take us a minute to get to the long term, but fundamentally at scale, the Optimus robot, you should be able to buy an Optimus robot for, I think, probably $20,000 to $30,000 long term. So, and what can it do? It'll basically do anything you want. So it can be a teacher, babysit your kids. It can walk your dog, mow your lawn, get the groceries, just be your friend, serve drinks, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's really high time we did this, is inductive charging. So the robotaxi has no plug. It just goes over the inductive charger and charges. So, yeah. It's kind of how it should be.
That's completely different from how he has usually said that.
Something we're also doing is, and it's really high time we did this, is inductive charging. So the robotaxi has no plug. It just goes over the inductive charger.
This is just like the back of an iPhone,
So,
where like
yeah.
you can put a puck on it and it'll just charge.
That's how it should be.
It's completely different from the way that Tesla currently charges vehicles, where you have to actually plug them in. But it's also funny because they tried to do this. Well, they tried to do battery swapping years ago, about 10 years ago. And Elon hated it. But the inductive charging is just difficult. They had to go inductive charging in this setting because if you have a robotaxi, you need to take the human out of pretty much every facet of it. So when you recharge the thing, you have to take the human out. So you have to be driving them to these stations that can inductively charge. So it does make sense, but it's also like, what? Like, it's so weird.
Whatever you can think of. Be so low that you can think of it like individualized mass transit. I think the cost of autonomous transport will be so low that you can think of it like individualized mass transit. The average cost of a bus per mile for a city, not the ticket price because that is subsidized, but the average price is about $1 a mile. Whereas the cost of cybercab, we think probably over time, from the operating cost is probably going to be around 20 cents a mile. And price, including taxes and everything else, probably ends up being 30 or 40 cents a mile. So yes, and you will be able to buy one.
So you'll be able to buy one. Like, already that should be, some people's ears are poking up because it's like, all right, you could just buy many of them. I know sometimes it's a little skeptical. It's like, all right, will these cars be able to drive themselves or whatever? But you got to think, it's like, it's a scalability thing. Like, the more vehicles that they have, the better that the fleet is going to get. If you look at all of these people who really know AI, like Jensen Huang, Elon's one of them, Sam Altman, they are at the forefront of this, and they have many times said the amount of energy that they put into these models and the amount of data that they put into these models, they actually get back a lot. Like, there's no upper limit to the amount that they get back. So the more energy and data that they put in, they're getting better, more refined models. So it's the same thing with the driving. Like, driving is very difficult. It's something that hasn't been able to be done until now because of the technology that they've developed. And it's just a function of scale of money. Like, if somebody is going to pay 30, 40 cents a mile to move themselves or their children or their like their goods or services, they'll absolutely pay the 30 to 40 cents as opposed to the dollars. Like, unfortunately, there's a lot of people in positions where they don't have a choice. A lot of people won't have a choice to do it, and that'll just add to the fleet. And then I think more people will adopt it later on. I think we're at the point where, like, all right, the very rich, the people who are going to be buying these things, it's going to get to the masses really fast.
Yes, exactly. And
I love that they put the
we
hatchback.
expect the cost to be below $30,000. I think the cost of autonomous
Here's another huge thing too. Like, there's other players in this space. I actually have a friend of mine who works for one of these companies, and I believe he works for Waymo. And we were having a long conversation because I'm like, how are you guys going to be able to compete? Because the price to actually create this, to build this vehicle is so low in comparison to, like, actually putting LiDAR on another vehicle, because it's already the purchase price of that vehicle and then adding LiDAR to it, which can be like $50,000 to $100,000 on top of the purchase price of the vehicle, as opposed to you purchasing a car for $60,000. Like, the barrier to entry is so much smaller. On the back end, yes, you have to do much more work because you have to process all that data and create data centers. But I believe long term, it's just hard to beat, especially with these LiDAR systems. Like, you're having individuals coding each event as opposed to, like, an AI that's just, like, eating all of this data. So yeah, no driver fee, no extensive radar or LiDAR equipment. Yeah. I think this was definitely a W event from Tesla. They always deliver the vehicles that they say that they're going to deliver. So it's not like, oh, you're seeing this robo-van and then it's going to look like something else. Like, this is the robo-van, this is the robo-taxi. They're just going to look like this. Like, it's not like, oh, when it comes to delivery time, it's going to look something different. Like, even if we look at, like, the Model 3 event from 2018, the vehicle ended up shipping and looked exactly like a Model 3. I think they're going to get a lot of good, like, ability to scale with this van. I think it's solid. Look, I'm still, like, on the fence about the van, but the fact that they can drive themselves to some extent, we'll have to see more when they get into the wild. I don't know when they said they're going to release them, but
everything we've developed for our cars, the batteries, power electronics, the advanced motors, gearboxes, the software, the AI.
They're gonna do them in the
computer,
robots.
It all actually have the same techniques. It's just a robot with arms and legs instead of a robot with wheels.
What up, Zero?
And
There
we've
was some
made
crazy
a lot
times
of
in this,
progress
bro. Parts where I'm like,
with
yo,
the Optimus.
this is really gonna be
As
crazy.
you can see, we started up with someone in a robot suit, sort of down.
I think it's really gonna be
Progressed dramatically year after year.
this company's probably gonna be.
Extrapolate this, you really
I
get
know, bro.
something
It literally does.
something that anyone could own.
It literally
You
does
could
look like
have
iRobot.
Your own personal R2D2 C3PO.
I honestly, bro, I'm thinking sometimes like, yo, like,
And I think at scale, this would cost something like, I don't know, $20,000-$30,000.
the thing I feel like, right? So one of my like crazy moonshot ideas for like these humanoid robots is that it's gonna really disrupt teaching in a lot of ways, because if you have this large language model or even like an AI model, right, that can not only collect data on like information, but it can collect data on individuals. I don't see how like children won't be raised like a lot by like these AI models or like robots that are able to like teach the kids stuff. And like it'll be probably I think it'll be more effective than a traditional teacher, because it's not like, oh, the robot's going to get tired of the kid. Like
Probably less than a car is my prediction.
that's
term.
long term, but
Take us a minute to get to the long term, but fundamentally at scale, the Optimus robot, you should be able to buy an Optimus robot for, I think, probably $20,000 to $30,000 long term. So
even if it's
what
doing
gonna
simple
do,
tasks, I
it'll
think that it's going to be able
do
to.
anything you want. So it can
It's going to disrupt a lot of
be a
things.
teacher, babysit your kids. It can walk your dog, mow your lawn, get the groceries.
I was talking to Lance too,
be
like
your friend, serve drinks.
this robot is really like
Whatever you
all
can think of.
purpose. Like, okay, like this one will be in the house, like chilling with you, whatever,
And,
but
yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
it's going to disrupt other places.
I think this will be the biggest product ever of any kind.
I believe it too. Because if you're able to get the robot to even do like simple tasks, then I think that people are going to end up buying it. Like even construction sites, like, all right, instead of having like 50 people to do a job, I think that it's going to cut down to like 5 or 10. And then the majority of it will just be like humanoid robots doing the rest of the labor, or like task specific robots. Yeah, I don't know if you're here for like the photos of it, but Tesla usually ships like the vehicle that looks exactly like whatever they put as their like a prototype when it first comes out is what comes out. Like the Cybertruck looks exactly like the prototype that came out where they broke the window. Like it looks exactly the same. So I don't know, even like sporting events, like or even this is the outside of it. I think they did a pretty good job. I think this is a W event, and I think it shows exactly how like you always have to show your investors that like, okay, where are we gonna go from here? Like, all right, we are now like a $700 billion company. How are we gonna get to like Nvidia levels, or how are we gonna get to like Microsoft levels? Like, what's our next step? And I think that this really proved it, that it's possible. I don't know if anybody's in here has seen like the full self-driving videos, but they're getting good. They've already been like really good, but it's crazy that they're really doubling down on, all right, there's no steering wheel in this thing. I'm sure people hated that. Like they were pushing back on Elon for a long time to go no steering wheel. And he really wanted to do it. But these will be on the road in Texas and California, like in the coming years. Honestly, he said he wants it to be but before 2027. I don't even care. I don't care when it happens, just as long as they get on the road. Because it really doesn't really matter when exactly. It's just as long as it happens. Yeah. It'll absolutely, like, this is exactly, like, it'll transform physical labor in industrial settings. Absolutely. Where's the actual live stream? I want to see, like, back to when Optimus comes out.
Set. So it's like really, we've used, I don't know, 20, 30 acres or something like that. It's really big. So it goes on, the ride's long. See, there's lot. Can you imagine going down the streets and you see that there are.
You're going to see that truck, which is kind of weird. Probably won't be for like 3 years. They got to scale up. They have to scale up Cybertruck first, but yeah, like this part was kind of not freaky, but it was like, yo, what is happening, bro? Oh wait, no. Where is it? It was closer to the end, but it was like the craziest because here. So I'm like, all right, I'm whatever. I'm just watching, just like everybody else, like chilling. It goes back to where they were at with those like gift bags, and Optimus is just like working the station, and it gets nuts because let's see if I can skip ahead just a little bit. Right here. Go back to that station. It's hard to. Here we go. So you see, he's pointing, whatever. This woman right here, this redheaded woman right here, she waves, whatever. He waves back. It's kind of crazy, bro, because while I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, yeah, he's like, it's a person in a suit, but like, no, this is the robot. He's pointing at her like, all right, you want a gift bag? Rock, paper, scissors? Like, this is solid product. This is crazy. This is solid progress because I believe just 2.5 years ago, I don't even think it was that long. Maybe like 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago, they had no robot. Now they have this. And he was fully interacting with her. Like, she wants a gift bag. All right. He grabbed her a gift bag and gave it to her. Like, I think it's really hard to fathom how quickly, like, these things will change. But as somebody who, like, bro, I was using Chat GPT, GPT-2. That's what it was called back when I was using it. And it could kind of write like small things like a paragraph, but it couldn't really like give you much like else than that. Like, okay, write me like a poem. It would write you a poem. Oh, write me a poem about like this topic. And it could do that. Very narrow. And that was like 3 years ago. Now we're on a completely different level where you have the same type of thing. GPT-01 is passing the bar, or like it's better than like 90% of like medical professionals at actually telling you like what was like what a person's diagnosed with.
100 hours left.
So it definitely moves fast.
And experience the set that we built here. It's a very big set, so it's like.
I wish they allowed us to see like them going down a set. I wanted to see it.
It's really big, so it goes on. The ride's long.
Like myself.
And we set it up. We set it up to feel like a ride, like a park ride. So it'll be cool, and you'll get to experience it tonight.
Now you gotta wait for all these people who were there to show us their videos.
What we're doing is, and it's really high time we did this, is inductive charging. So the robotaxi has no plug. It just.
I remember I was saying this.
Charger and charges.
On or off. This is. So they're gonna have to have an autonomous way to clean these things when people use them. So they didn't talk about that.
things that like is really interesting is how will this affect the cities that we live in? And when you drive around a city, or when the car drives you around a city, you'll see there's a lot of parking lots. There's parking lots.
Houston needs this bad.
Garages. There are, and so what would happen if you have an autonomous world is that you can now turn parking lots into parks.
This part I'm not 100% certain about,
so from
because
you do it
if you like, yes, you are moving people much like easier and cheaper, but you're still gonna have to park these vehicles somewhere. Like, it's not like, oh, you're gonna have no use for parking lots anymore. What happens when like this event lets out? Like, all of those vehicles that are going to be moving people are going to be coming from somewhere.
we're taking the ing lot out of parking lot.
I guess the idea is that, like, as opposed to like the current system that we have, the vehicles will just always be in use. So theoretically, you can address the full market with a fewer number of vehicles, because instead of them just driving and then stopping somewhere, they're always in motion. So like, all right, if the event were to end, then maybe you'd have like some vehicles on hand that you could flood the system with to like ramp up higher usage, but it would probably be much less than if it was like a taxi driver who's just waiting to pick up someone, as opposed to like, all right, I'm always driving. Once a ride ends, I'm going to the next person, like, continually. I guess that could possibly be the.
Welcome. So there's a lot of opportunity to create.
I don't know, man.
Made a lot of progress
I gotta see Optimus again, bro.
with Optimus.
All right, one more time.
And as you can see, we started up with someone in a robot suit.
Because at $30,000,
And then we've
many people will have a lot of Optimuses.
So if you extrapolate this, you're really going to have something spectacular.
My concern with all of this is like that. Okay, say you have an Optimus that can teach your children. Then what type of model is the Optimus going to be running? Because hopefully, like, you'd want it to be a model that's in-house, as opposed to like.
So you can have your own personal R2D2 C3PO.
As opposed to like someone else's model.
And
You can teach your kid anything.
at scale, this would cost something like, I don't know, $20,000-$30,000. Probably less than a car, is my prediction long term. Now, it'll take us a minute to get to the long term, but fundamentally at scale, the Optimus robot, you should be able to buy an Optimus robot for, I think, probably $20,000 to $30,000 long term. So, and what can it do? It'll be able to do anything you want. So it can be a teacher, babysit your kids. It can walk your dog, mow your lawn, get the groceries, just be your friend, serve drinks, whatever you can think of, it will do.
Yeah, I think that with this event, Tesla has proven that there is a path for them to 10x, which is absolutely nuts. But I think it has definitely proven it that they can 10x again. Obviously, it's going to take execution, but they've executed at every stop.
Time we did this is inductive charging.
Yeah, they need that.
One of the reasons why
This part is pretty crazy.
the computer can be so much better than a person is that we have millions of cars that are training on driving. So it's like
All the
running
time.
lives simultaneously and seeing very unusual situations that a person in their entire lifetime would not see. But hopefully, yeah, exactly. So
Some of these moments are absolutely nuts.
with that amount of training data, it's obviously going to be much better than can't live a million lives. And it's also
It's only a matter of
in several
time.
directions simultaneously, and it doesn't get tired or text or any of those things. So it will naturally be, like I said, 10, 20, 30 times safer than a human, just for all those reasons. And I want to emphasize that the solution that we have is AI and vision. So there's no
No LiDAR.
piece of equipment needed. So the Model 3 and Model Y and S and X that we make today will be capable of full autonomy unsupervised. And that means that our cost of producing the vehicle is low. Now, we are going to actually overspec the computer for the Cybercab. So our AI5 computer.
I can't believe they actually did the Cybercab.
will be somewhat overspec.
People were always like, "Yo, they need to make a
Because
cyber version of like a
opportunity
two-door."
like an Amazon Web Services
I thought that it was gonna be
cars
a
driving
$25,000 two-door that you could just buy, but
for 50 hours a week. There's still over 100 hours left, and there's a potential there to have a massive amount of distributed inference compute, where if you've got, like, say, a fleet of 100 million vehicles,
and this is another part where I'm like, they could 10x right here.
and a kilowatt of efficient inference compute, you have 100 gigawatts of compute, which is really quite substantial. And if it's there, you might as well use it. So.
So even then, like he's saying that they could also spin out all of these computers, even if, like, the thing is, like, they're already creating this compute. So even if it doesn't work, which, like, I think it's going to work, it's just a matter of time. It's not if, it's a matter of when, because the more data that you give these AI models and the more energy that you allow them to use in your data clusters or your data centers, then, like, the likeliness that they just become more efficient just goes up exponentially. And even if, like, you don't get to the point where it is 100% effective and regulators allow it to fully drive itself, they still are going to have so much extra compute on the back end that they can just use it for like a web service, like Tesla web services, just like Amazon does. So there's still a huge place for it, especially with, like, the way that we're moving right now, where more companies are going to be using AI. More and more of them. Like, they don't know how, like, but it's going to happen. Honestly, like it goes perfectly with, like, another company, Palantir, like, extremely well. Because I'll put I know if Izzy, you're even in here, I'm gonna put you on with this company too. I don't know if Calvin has ever talked to you. So like, this is another company that I think, like, fits perfectly into, like, what Tesla's doing. It's an AI company that is pretty much in the forefront of what they do. There's no other company on earth like it. And like, pretty much what they do is they help old companies look through their data and create a digital twin of their company, and then have AI interact with it and create variables that could happen in the real world to help you make better decisions without them actually happening to you. Hold on. So even for, like, with all of that extra compute, it has to be used somewhere. Their CTO was on this was in January. Was on CSNBC. Here you go.
What is driving all this demand?
Well, it's unquestionable that this is a unique moment for Palantir here. We have the tailwinds in the commercial business, the rate of adoption of AI, the normative view that enterprise automation is where the value is, and the tool chain. You could say, it's a 10-year overnight success. The foundational investments that we've made in ontology are the prerequisites that you need to put these workflows into production quickly, to get from a charismatic prototype.
So even then, like, So it's just like a little bit, but I don't want to go too far like with this, but like I think that it's gonna have a lot of place for. You're gonna just need compute. Compute is gonna be so important, and I think it's gonna be crazy. Like as an American, like living in this type of economy, like we're just gonna benefit from it so much. There's no other places on earth that do it. Like not even. I know people. A lot of people are like, oh well, China's gonna do this and that. Like China doesn't have something like Tesla or Palantir, either one. Yes, they have massive companies, but like Silicon Valley is so like unique in the world where like all of these people want to move there to start companies, and they all end up being like ridiculous software engineers, and that's just where like the bedrock of software engineering is. So it's not like other countries have something like that, and that's going to give America a huge advantage. Palantir is another one. Like, I honestly think if someone were to, that's what this, me personally, all I hold is Palantir and Tesla. That's all I have in my portfolio. And they've done me good. Right now, Palantir's at $41, and I loaded up like 18 months ago at $7. So if this goes to 70, which I think it will, I'll 10x. But even then, bro, I think that Palantir will 10x from here. I think that Palantir has a clear vision forward to get to $400 a share. Based on the fact that like there's no company like it. It's kind of like a Microsoft back in the day when Microsoft was first laying the groundwork for the internet, that like everybody was just using them because there's no one else that is creating like software to help you interact with the internet. That's the same thing that like Palantir is doing right now, where like there's no one that can help old businesses interact with AI. Like that's the business's whole thing. They're a 17-year-old company that just went public in 2021, and they mainly had worked with the government, and the government, they pretty much use them for everything. Like every single time that someone's like, all right, we need to get like a software company to like help us, like I don't know. They like back in the they were the company that helped find like Saddam Hussein. Like they're the ones who were like, all right, well, we can tell based on like satellite images of like where you guys are, and where most likely there's going to be like a base for like um Iranian like terrorist groups, like where they're going to be, just based on like, okay, you guys are here, and then like, okay, this guy should be like over this ridge, and they were like super good at identifying them. Like they'd identify them before they were within like 100 feet of like the nearest like agent who was on the ground. So they just end up getting like huge backing by them, and they just went public. So they went public like in 2021, and what was crazy recently that I've seen, bro, is that they had no commercial business in 2021. They had opened it up in 2022, and now 30% of hospitals or 21% of hospitals are using Palantir, which is absurd. Like, I know that might not sound like a like that is an absurd number, bro. 21%, 1 in 5 hospitals like in the country are using Palantir, and they didn't have any public like products until 2021. Like that's unheard of, which is crazy because at $7, like I looked kind of crazy. I know Calvin, I think, bought, but I think that's a huge. I think what I would really love to see is if Palantir and Tesla got together. There's a lot that like it could help so much with like supply chain. Because if you have a digital twin of your business, which Palantir can create, it's called AIP. They create a digital twin of your business, and then it's like, okay, well, if like these like 3 things were to fail, like what's the most likely next thing to fail? So it's like, okay, like once those like 3 things hit, they're like, okay, you need to start like getting okay, like it's so hard to explain because every single business is different. So it's like, all right, like I'll use Airbus. So we all know what happened with Boeing. Boeing and how all of their planes are all messed up. Like the real issue is that they had really trouble like sourcing parts. One, and two is how do you know which part is likely to fail? It's almost impossible. Like no one's gonna know that. Like you can even ask like someone who's as plugged in as could be plugged in. Like the CEO, he won't know what the most likely part is to fail because it's impossible. Palantir created a digital twin of Airbus. Like, okay, every single part that you have, the life cycle of every single part, where that part is coming from, like how that part is interacting with other parts in the system, when you order them, and when it's likely to fail. So they can tell, like, before a part fails, like, when it is likely to fail using these AI models, which is nuts. And then on top of that, that's like, it's built like on that. That's like the baseline of it. But on top of that, they build on large language models that individuals can interact with. And then when they interact with the large language model, it'll give them 3 options on the way that they can respond to these things breaking down. So it really like it's extremely sticky. Like it's hard to like if you're a business owner, it's like it sounds like it's magic. Like it sounds like, oh, it can't be real. Like what do you mean you can just like guess what's going to happen without it actually happening to my business? And when I interact with it, it can like give me options on how I can react. So the CTO is like in this video here saying like, yo, you guys have no idea. Like this is only the beginning. Like this product is extremely sticky for a reason. Excuse me, I'm like burpy now.
To actual business value, I would say one of our customers, a very large U.S. insurance company, we've automated all of insurance underwriting. A process that used to take 2 weeks can now be done in 3 hours with a 78 agent AI model.
Which is like, bro, that is like something that used to take 2 weeks now takes a couple of hours. Like it's it's pretty funny, bro, because like I really do see this stock skyrocketing in the next like 18 months. And what's wild, bro, is I'm gonna put this video out and be like, yo, I literally called it. Like this is gonna happen because the product is too sticky. Like it's pretty much like if you are an insurance company, like how the hell are you gonna compete when your competition is able to do something that takes you 2 weeks in hours? Like you just can't compete with it. Like you literally cannot compete. So I'm like, I don't know. For me, like I said, these are the only 2 things I own. I'm not telling anybody to buy anything. I'm just saying like these are the only 2 things I own.
That is not just the time saved, which is the first order.
Oh, I want to touch on one other thing. He was talking about 78 agents. I don't know who knows what in here. Comment if you know so I can get to a higher level or maybe you educate me. But the agents, like, it's an AI model that just talks back with itself. So it's pretty much turning a large language model back in on itself and telling it to do tasks. So that's like the next wave that we're in right now is everyone's just using agents instead of using like a large language model, which doesn't really help you that much. Like you can use a large language model, but like it's only really going to help you like a few people, not everybody. Like the agents are able to actually do work, and be told what to do, where to allocate resources, things like that. So we're going to see a lot more of those, and we're only in the beginning. He said they're only using a 78 agent model, which to me in the world of AI, bro, that number sounds ridiculously tiny. Like I know like they're at the forefront of it, so it's a lot, but the way that I imagine it, I believe that it's going to be even
the
more.
Second order benefit, if all of your competitors take 2 weeks to price risk, and you take 3 hours, it's going to be a fundamental dislocation in the
I
market.
was just going to ask, because IBM is going after enterprise, and Google and Microsoft, they're all going after these.
A lot of these companies, like in the AI race now, like NVIDIA and a company called Accenture, they're trying to do something similar where they're trying to get like
Enterprise.
into the enterprise market and help businesses be able to look through their data. But Palantir's been doing it for 17 years. Like you're hard pressed like to think that like what about when this competition just shows up? Like, yo, you're gonna be hard pressed to beat this company that's already been doing it with the government. Like, yeah, they've already been doing it for 17 years with the U.S. government, helping out our military. So
Systems for changing how corporations operate and getting them more productive and efficient. So what do you do that they can't?
Well, I think what the market realizes is nobody wants to be on the self-driving car journey. We had a prototype self-driving car in 2005. It drove 120 miles through the desert. 20 years later, we have commercial service in 3 cities. You know, that's not a rewarding journey. So all the value is going to accrete to the companies who have built a tool chain that allows you to get to production quickly. And we've spent the better part of a decade building exactly that.
Although the self-driving thing has a lot of friction from regulation and making sure it's safe, right?
And so insurance is a very regulated industry. Hospitals are very regulated. We manage 21% of hospital beds in the U.S. I think, if you want to solve the whole problem, you have to be able to solve the whole problem and provide the regulators the transparency, the assurance, the telemetry and observability they need to say, yes, this model can be in production. This workflow